Hello everyone, and welcome back to Inside ArtScroll, where the books you read and the people who write them come to life. Today I am privileged to be joined by best-selling author Rabbi Yechiel Spero, author of a brand new phenomenal book, The Soul of Kaddish. Thank you, Rabbi Yechiel, for joining us.
Thank you again for having me. It's I think been about 2 years, so it's good
Since
to be
we
back.
last spoke. I know you're a busy person, Baruch Hashem, writing books. You're a busy Rebbe, a devoted Rebbe. You're speaking in many places, so to get you down here is not a simple matter. So
I wish I could come every week. That's the truth.
Well, you're invited here all the time,
good.
so whenever you have time in your schedule, first of all, we should stop doing a podcast, I think, regularly.
Okay,
Which
good.
moves about,
Sure.
Mili Dalma. But today, among other things, I'd like to discuss this brand new book, which I know you're very passionate about. I know you're passionate about the topic. I know you're passionate about what you shared in the book, much of which I myself have benefited from, the stories, the lessons. But I'm sure many people have asked you, what prompted you to write a book on, of all topics, Kaddish?
Right. Okay, so like every book, it starts with just somebody mentions an idea. And often the best ideas are, I don't know if it's a good idea, but I was thinking. So there's a Yid, David Emanuel, who called me after COVID or in the middle of COVID, and he said, listen, so many Yidden have lost their lives. So many people are searching for Nechama. So many people could use Chizuk, and you should write a book on Kaddish. And it seemed perfect. Of course I should. Mm-hmm. I thought about it, and I started to research the subject matter, and it's on so many levels. There's parts of Kaddish that are very esoteric, and there's parts of Kaddish that are, so emotional. The more I invested in it and the more I learned about it, the more I realized I have to learn even more about it. But like everything else, it started to get pushed to the side. And to his credit, he stayed on top of me. And every few months, he would send me a WhatsApp message or a text, and Chas Shalom, not to pressure, but have you given it more thought? And Baruch Hashem, it started to build momentum. And once I started on it, I couldn't stop.
So where did you start when you decided, okay, I want to really focus in on Kaddish? Where does one start?
Right. So I always buy Svarim.
Yeah, we know.
And,
Your Svarim.
And I started to think about the Kaddeshim in my life that have been unforgettable. Baruch Hashem, B'chasdei Hashem, my parents should be gesund. They're both with us. So my experiences of Kaddish have really come from what I've observed from others. I remember many years ago, it was actually on a Shmini Atzeres, so it was Torah. There was a cousin of ours that was nifter, and she was a young mother. I think she was 29, 30 years old. And it was the saddest Simchas Torah. The whole city of Cleveland went to Levaya, and Shmini Atzeres Simchas Torah she was buried on Yontif.
Wow.
And I remember it must have been the next Friday night. I was in Shul in Young Israel, and people started talking. And the not talking in Shul thing, which is incredible movements, it didn't exist 30, 40 years ago. This was 40 years ago, so it didn't exist so much. And sometimes people would talk, and people were talking, and it got a little loud toward the end of a Friday night davening. And I'll never forget, her father was saying Kaddish for her, for whatever reason it was, and I remember him banging on the wall. And in the middle of Kaddish, he said, is it too much for a father to want to say Kaddish for his daughter? Is it too much for you to be quiet? He was crying. I can see it. It's like it happened yesterday. It was one Kaddish I remember, and then there was another Kaddish when we had a Talmud, Moshe Moskowitz, a young boy, an 8th grade boy that was nifter, car accident a number of years ago. And one of the Rebbeim in Yeshiva was saying Kaddish for an uncle. It was a Freya uncle who I don't think he had much connection to, but he was saying Kaddish for him. And we found out at like 7 o'clock in the morning that the boy was killed in a car accident. And normally the Kaddish was like a rapid fire Kaddish. And we all came, we were like shaken to it. It was unbelievable. And I remember he started to say Kaddish, and he couldn't get the words out. It was like we were by Levaya, and it was our Talmud, and he couldn't say the words. It was like a Kaddish that you don't forget.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about those Kaddishim, and every person has that moment. Every person that loses a child, every person that loses a parent, every person that loses a sibling, when people are sitting Shiva, they have those moments. You don't think about it because it's not your moment until it is your moment.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, everybody has the moment.
Right.
And I started to think, what if you could give Chizuk to those people in their darkest hour? What if you would be able to give them the story or the vart or the machshava that they could hold on to, that would carry them through their darkest times?
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about that and the power that it can give them and the empowerment to be able to get past it, like you have a schus in helping being mechazik people through their darkest times, it's a no-brainer.
But you've mentioned that this particular book is not only for those who've had to say Kaddish, who never have lost a parent or a close relative, right?
No.
You feel very strongly that it's for everyone.
You know, we don't time when books come out. Books come out. And we're in the middle of the darkest kufa in recent memory. And I did not know that, obviously, when I was writing this book.
Mm-hmm.
But we've buried 1,000 brothers and sisters in the last week. And inside of the book, I put nuggets of nechama. It's chizuk in emunah. It's chizuk in nechama. It's just chizuk for everybody. By the way, not only people that have lost someone. It's obviously centers around Kaddish, but there's parts about Chias HaMesim in here. Different parts of the book speak to different people, but it's all chizuk, bitachin. It's I'm telling you, it's like people ask me, do I ever read my own books? These past 2 weeks, I've been reading my Kaddish book because just to get more chizuk, and who doesn't need chizuk now?
Right.
So it's the perfect book for the perfect time. And I'll tell you the truth, some books, you have a storybook, book sold for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then slowly, I believe that every person that is sitting Shiva, or every person that needs chizuk, hold on to the book, read it. It'll take you 2 weeks to read the book, 3 weeks to read the book.
I know from going through the book, it's really not just about Kaddish. I like what you alluded to. It's really about chizuk during trouble times.
Yeah.
That's really what the book is about.
Yeah.
It happens to be through the medium of Kaddish.
I'll tell you a beautiful thing. The period when a person loses a loved one, so that immediate relatives are called an oinon. And then during the period of aninus, there's no mitzvahs. And if you speak to people that have lost, that have experienced aninus, it's a very, very strange time. No brachas, no mitzvahs, no tefillin, it's just
Strange.
It's strange. And then immediately after the kvura, not only is everything back on, not only does the switch go on, but you are burdened with this extra burden of davening for the Amud, but also, of course, saying Kaddish. What happens? So I wrote a beautiful thing from Rabbi Yosher Ben Soloveitchik. The word ovel is avol. It means but. The Torah, the Rabbeinu Shalom, Chazal, they understand the way a Yiddish neshama works. They understand the way human beings work. And when we're hit with tragedy, we're numb, we're speechless. We mamish don't know what to say or what to do. Person doesn't know what to say or do, can't possibly do mitzvahs. can't possibly say a bracha. But the Rabbeinu Shalom also knows that after that short period of time of aninus, not only are you capable of going back to your regular life, you're capable of doing more than you ever thought before. And you're given a schus not only to, it's beautiful, not only to say Kaddish, but Kaddish is, you're giving people the opportunity to say, Amen Yehishmei Rabba. B'chol koychem yikoyren like Zardina. You can rip up the Gzeiris against Klal Yisrael. You become the vehicle for Kiddush Shem Shemayim. And it's, and that, we talk about, and Chinuch, you talk about believing in a kid. The Rebbeinu Shalom believes in us when we're hurt and we're wounded and we're crying. The Rebbeinu Shalom believes you can rise up. Henam kilavi yakum. You will rise up and you will be stronger than ever before. And it's mamish like for now, it's prophetic. It's unbelievable.
Right. We find among people when you schmooze with people that Kaddish gives them a nechama, even or maybe especially during their lifetime. You hear people talk about my Kaddishal. Right? They refer to their children as my Kaddishal. Yeah. That's so much part of it's part of Yiddish culture. That's part of it's part of keeping your legacy going. It's part of what's going to give your neshama. What we these are inyanim that are beyond us, but whatever that means, it will give my neshama it's nachas ruach in the aliyah of the neshama and so on and so forth, whatever it is. But you see it so much. I was just schmoozing with one of the Talmid Chacham here at ArtScroll, b'nageh halacha of Kaddish, about the Kaddish Basra at the end of davening. Someone found the stira in an ArtScroll, so that we were talking about it, and he was sharing with me how Kaddish is very, very unique in that anything that's related to the afterlife, anything related to these inyanim, people are very, very sensitive about, and it hits them in a different way.
Right. Well, a lot of times people feel it's like taboo to talk about, especially the Svardish Welt. They don't want to have anything to do, for many years, that people don't want to have anything to do with anybody who's involved in the Chava Kedisha. Right. They didn't even invite you to like a chasana because they don't want to have anything to do with it. But it's Kaddish is an opportunity for us to be able to embrace our fears in many ways also, but of course to continue the Messiah, and people see, like you said, a Kaddishal is somebody that will carry on.
Right. What was a revelation that you had? I mean, you start learning about Kaddish. We hear thousands of Kaddishim throughout our lifetime. What was a sheer revelation that you had as you started exploring it?
I'll tell you, there's a lot, there's really, and again, I really don't want to toot my own horn, because it's not me, and anything that comes out from my work is only because I really feel like you get sat d'ishmaya and you're able to produce the right thing at the right time. But I'll tell you, like, I found that, first of all, Kaddish has nothing to do with death. I think that's shocking to people, because people, when they start saying Kaddish, they do it because, and even people that are not religious want to say Kaddish. People have this desire, whether it's because they feel like they want to connect to their parents, or because they want, they're faced with the fragility of life and our vulnerability, and they say, hey, maybe I should start doing something. So they start saying Kaddish, and they start reading Kaddish, and it doesn't talk about at all, there's no mention of death. It's about Kiddush Shem Shemayim, and it's also about understanding that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even when we think He's given us the biggest patch we could possibly imagine, He's still the loving Rabbi Shalom who loves us more than anything. So whether you understand it or not, and hopefully if you read the book you understand a little more, it's kind of blending the Midas Hadin with the Midas Harachman, and understanding that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is taking care of you, and to understand that everything is Kiddush Shem Shemayim, and by you accepting that and continuing to embrace Torah and mitzvahs and Kiddush Shem Shemayim, you are accepting HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Gzeira, and there it might lead into the understanding of accepting death and difficult times.
And one of the things people find interesting as well with Kaddish is the Kaddish by a Siyam being the same as a Kaddish by a Kvura, which is also something.
Did you see the shot?
I didn't see.
Oh, it's unbelievable. You're going to love this. Whoever's listening to this is going to love. It's amazing. The only problem is that if I tell you this, I'm like losing like a great speech to say by a grand siyum. I know that they're having a siyum. There's a siyum on Seder Noshim coming up.
Yeah.
So I haven't been asked to speak to Seder Noshim siyum. So this will be the vart. But it's unbelievable. Why is it that the Kaddish? I think it's called the Kaddish of Tchias HaMesim. That's the name of the Kaddish. The Kaddish of Tchias HaMesim that you say at the Kvura is the exact same lashon when you finish the siyum. So Rabbi Avram Tzvi Kluger, who is a Kloisenberger Chassid, and he's a Halakha Yid. He's referred to as the Nezer Yisrael. He's current. He's in Yisrael. He says a beautiful shot. He says when a person is picks up a Masechta, the Masechta's been sitting there, the Gemara's been sitting there, and you pick it up. The Masechta is dead. By learning the Masechta, you are breathing life into the Masechta. Every moment that you learn Torah, you're breathing life into a dormant piece of Gemara that's actually been waiting for you to blow on it and to breathe life into it. But when you finish the Masechta, in a sense, you're stopping to learn. That's the death of the Masechta. When you say the words Hadran Aloch, it's the reenactment of Tchias HaMesim because you're promising you're going to breathe life into the Masechta again, which is what the Kaddish of the Tchias HaMesim, when a person's buried, it's also, isn't that beautiful?
That's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of my favorite ideas in the book.
You have some great stories in here. One of my favorite is the story about Reb Tzvi Pesach, with the fellow who comes into shul.
Beautiful.
I mean, great stories. Share one or two.
I want to share what I think is, and there's a couple people, maybe they'll watch it. One of the advantages of writing this is that nobody ever knows what to say to a novel.
Right.
It's the most awkward, and we're talking not supposed to speak until the novel speaks to us, and no one knows what to say, and I don't claim to know what to say, but in private conversation, I've been able to pick up hundreds of little tidbits to be able to be mechazik people, which are really treasures. Because if you can lift a person up in his darkest moments, it's
priceless.
It's priceless. You're giving him life, mamish. So there's a story, and again, it's as appropriate as can possibly be for this period of time. After the Merkaz Harav massacre, when Yeshiva Bachrim were killed in the Beis Medrash, terrible tragedy. So there were parents who were inconsolable, all of them. And they came to Chacham Ovadia. And Chacham Ovadia spoke to them. And this is what he told them. He told them in 1971, I believe it was. So Baba Sali, Rabbi Sol Abu Chatzera, lived in Netivot, and shortly after he moved there, he discovered that there was a couple that was having Shalom Bayis problems. How did he know they were having Shalom Bayis problems? Everybody knew. The windows were open, and everybody knew they were having Shalom Bayis problems. So he was asked to get involved, which he did, but he called his brother down. His brother was a Rav in Lud, in the community over there, and he said to him, listen, I'm not a Rav. I don't have a sprach with people. How about you come down, you'll speak to them, you'll explain to them what needs to be done, you'll help them with the lines of communication. And of course, he came. And his brother was a great tzaddik in his own right. He came down and he spoke to them. And he explained to them what needs to be done, and he got them to see each other's point of view. And after a few hours, he was ready to go back. He said goodbye to his brother. He never made it home. He was killed in a horrific accident. And Baba Sali was inconsolable. Now let's understand that Baba Sali was one of the holiest Jews in many generations, a Kaddish V'Tahar, and he knew the alleyways of Shemayim, right? They say about St. Namayrayim. And here he was inconsolable, and he said, it's all my fault. I had to bring him down. If I didn't bring him down, he would have never died. And he cried and cried and cried. And one night, he went to sleep and he had a dream, and his brother appeared to him in a dream. And his brother said to him, I'm okay. It's beautiful. I'm in Shemayim. I'm next to the Rabbi Shalom. He said, it's all my fault. It's all my fault. He said, what do you mean your fault? You gave me the schus. I was supposed to die. You gave me the schus to die while I was bringing the Shechina down to the world, because an ish v'isha zachu Shechina shuya b'neim. If there's shalom bayis in a home, the Shechina comes down. You helped facilitate bringing the Shechina. I was able to be part of that mitzvah. So he says, so you're okay? He said, yes, except for one thing. He said, well, what is it? He said, you can't continue to cry. He said, it gives me pain when you cry. He said, stop crying. So Baba Sali said, okay, I'm not going to cry anymore. So Chacham Ovadia told the families, it's unimaginable tsar. But when you're able to finally stop crying, the neshama will be perfect. And it's not my place to say, people are going to cry for a long time. But we can smile too through the tears. And I think that's a story that should bring a lot of nechama to a lot of people. And, maybe people feel guilty. Somebody told me, what right do you have to write a book on Kaddish if your parents are living? You don't understand the sugya. And I don't. Baruch Hashem, I don't understand the sugya. But I think that sometimes you can try to give chizuk to people, and if people can understand that it's okay to smile, even in the greatest moments of tsar, that's part of the healing process. So a beautiful idea. The word tsar is very closely related to the word otsev, to be sad. The tzadi is the same, the ayin is the same. The only difference between is the reish and the beis. Follow for a moment. Reish is gematria 510. Reish yud shin. Beis yud sof is gematria 412. The difference between the two is 98. The 98 klalos in the Torah. Why did it come? Tachas asher le'avatas Hashem Elokeinu b'simcha. We're meant to have tsar in our lives. We're supposed to. That's part of the challenge, to be able to embrace HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the tsar. But sadness we can't have. So we're allowed, and we must cry. But we also must try to balance. Ivdus Hashem b'simcha is even in the greatest, it doesn't pause when we're going through tsar. Ivdus Hashem b'simcha is every moment of your life, from the moment we're born to the moment we die. But the tsar is accompanied with simcha. And only Klal Yisrael, Azayim B'dima B'yinik Tzayru, and only Klal Yisrael can be able to live with both.
And part of the nechama that I've heard from people that they get after Nebuchadnezzar Ptira, tragic or not, is that they have that ability to say Kaddish. We learn, we do mitzvahs, Lila Nishmas and Neshama, but saying Kaddish it's cathartic.
Yeah.
It's part of that healing process. But you mentioned something before. It's very hard to find the right things to say to those who have lost someone close. We see it now in this period of war with Eretz Yisrael and really Gans Klal Yisrael in such an Eis Tzara. Finding the right words, it's hard. I'm sure you as a Rebbe have grappled with this, right? I
mean, I think everybody in Klal Yisrael has grappled with it. I don't think... I think all of us have stinging eyes. Our eyes are burning because for 2 weeks we're trying, and the truth is that unlike the tragedies of COVID and Meron, where Everybody knew somebody. These names are not known names for most people. Almost nobody. Very, very few people are known. And the Yiddish heart is so big that we're like crippled. We're speechless.
We really. I want to say, I've spoken to people over the last few weeks, and people tell me they're walking around in a daze almost, like they're not operating at full capacity. And you ask them why, and they can't articulate it. Just, I'm not right now. I'm not whole. Yeah. I'm broken. Yeah. I'm broken inside. You mentioned before about.
I would even say that Kaddish gives you your voice again. And Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba, and the words B'chlal of the words of Tehillim, it gives us our voice. We don't know what to say. We find a voice, and we have to also, Mitzvah Shem, Rabbi Shem should take care of us, and hopefully Mitzvah Shem soon we'll be through this tzara. We'll never forget it, but I told people, if all we walk away with are a few really nice achenus and some arms around the shoulder, it'll be a lost opportunity. We got to walk away with something real. And Kiddush Shem Shemayim, and in every person in his own way. How are you being the Kiddush Shem Shemayim in your life? In the most private of ways, in your davening, in your learning, in your shalom bayis, in your beinam l'chaveroi, in your patience with your children, in your interaction with people in the store. We have to be able, and that's what Kaddish is. Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach, which is, by the way, the same as Baruch Shem Kivod Malchus Leilam Bad. It's really just an Aramaic translation of that pasuk. But
I've heard that. I hear people questioning. They say, this unprecedented Ahavas Yisrael and the Achdus and the Chesed, which is off the charts, almost like nothing people have ever seen. Right. It's really incredible. But I already heard people asking, is it sustainable? Can it be sustained? And the answer has to be yes. Right. Just like anything else. Just like you're saying, there has to be a takeaway from an Eis Tzara. There has to be a takeaway, whether we're saying Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba in word or in deed, whatever it is, it has to be sustainable. We have to take something from it.
One of the things that and again, there's a lot in here. I have one part of the book is nuggets of nechama, which are, again, it's not just nuggets of nechama, but little bite-sized pieces of something can open up and feel not only nechama, but it's a lot of chizuk. You talk about Ahavas Yisrael, and when people die, sometimes a shiva house is the most beautiful place. You walk in, and a family that's united and is together, it's magnificent. It really is. There's something very malchustic about it, and it's majestic, and it's almost like you feel a privilege to walk into such a house. But if chas v'shalom, there's machlokes in that family, then the death of a parent, it just breaks the family into a billion pieces. If I could say, I have a public forum now. If you haven't spoken to a family member, and you haven't spoken to a friend, or somebody that you have kindness on, make the phone call. If not now, when? And I think Kaddish, part of it is it unites people. We say Kaddish, we say Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba. It's the whole tzibur together is saying Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba. It has to be ba'achdus. You ever go, sometimes you go into a shul, and it's like a disjointed Kaddish. You have one guy who's running through Kaddish, and you have the guy who's going very, very slow. It doesn't have, sometimes the shul knocks. Sometimes in the shul, everybody comes together in the middle of the shul, and they say the Kaddish. But we only have a voice if we're together. Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba. That's what has to happen.
The book is phenomenal as a read for anyone, but as you said, when people need chizuk, this book is going to give it to them. And I also think that it's timeless in that way. I know it's a brand new book now, so people like something new, but I think it's something that will stand the test of time because these messages are timeless, and until we see the final geula, there are going to be these nisyonos, whatever they are, You know, the Rebbeinu Shalom should make them easy for us to deal with. But you've given Klal Yisrael a gift in this book.
I hope so. You know what? You asked me before, why did I write it? You ever walk into Beis Ovel and they have something on the little table? It's a halacha book. It's a minig book. And if you ask most people, they just want something there. Because there's going to be a moment, like now, Baruch Hashem, in a lot of families, it's busy. But people have quiet time. Mm-hmm. One of the things I envisioned when writing the book is, first of all, after Shiva, when the house is not hustling and bustling.
When it's much harder.
Yeah, it's much harder. And I felt like this is a book that people will be able to have as a companion. Mm-hmm. And I want to be clear. I'm not pushing the book because I want people to buy. I mean, I do want people to buy the book, but I really believe that it can give tremendous chizuk. It's given me tremendous chizuk. And I have a couple voice notes. You know, Jerry and Sarah Wolowski were the ones that dedicated the book. And they're friends of Klal Yisrael, Baruch Hashem, they've done so much. And I send them voice notes every once in a while because people send me voice notes. The book's only a few weeks old. Mm-hmm. And people have sent me letters and emails and voice notes that are, some of them are very private and I don't send, but every once in a while somebody said, I ask, can I share it with somebody? And I send it to them because you should just know the impact that you make on somebody's life. Just this morning, afterwards I'll let you listen, I got a 2-minute voice note from a woman who said the events over the last few weeks have caused her to lose her equilibrium. That's what she told me. She says, I feel I can't even walk straight. And she said she read one nugget of Nechama, and it just gave her some balance. Wow. It restored her. So again, I really believe B'siyat D'Shmaya, Hashem has put the right words into the book, and I hope that Klal Yisrael can become very mechuzah.
I'm in awe of what you do. I still don't know the secret exactly how you do it and how you balance everything you do. It's a masterpiece, like all your other books are.
Thank you.
And each one seems to be more impressive than the previous one. And this time you've touched a very, a vulnerable time in a person's life, a very sensitive topic, a topic that we need chizuk and guidance in. And so, thank you for doing what you did.
Thank you.
And you should continue to go Mechail Achayil.
Amen.
Continue with your fantastic Avodas HaKodesh in all different realms. And
if I could say thank you for being an Achi Ezer and Achi Samach, because you, as a personal friend, and everything you do for the Klal as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you for coming out to speak.
Thank you.